Mic check, mic check. Okay, looks good to me. Howdy, y'all, how's it going? Let me adjust this a little bit. All right, there we go. Yeah, howdy. So, how you guys doing? I'm uncertain how this is gonna go. I came into this game thinking, oh, well, this, you see it on screen and it's like, oh, I can do this. You watch other streamers do it and you're like, how are they not doing this? And then you actually play, it's like, oh, okay. But I figured this would be a nice chill game. I've gotta work tomorrow, so it's kind of like, I didn't want to spend too long on something. I wanted something kind of chill that I wouldn't have to really think about. So here we are, back in Jump King. Now we're entering uncharted territory. Here I am in the sewers where I belong, and yeah, this is going to be interesting. I have no idea how long it's going to take us to get out of here, but I think as long as no, oh, that was close. But I think as long as I play it safe, I'd rather go, under than over on a lot of these jumps. We'll just have to kind of take it as it comes, I guess. But I'm feeling confident. I feel like we're getting a little bit more progress done here. So yeah, we'll keep going and keep trying our thing. But yeah, so I hope you guys have had a good start to your week. Nothing too crazy. It's cold here, man. It is freezing. And I've mentioned a billion times that I've got this kerosene heater, and I basically had it running nonstop. It definitely does the job. I mean, it's super warm, but I feel like breathing in kerosene fumes all day is probably not good for my health. I've got a carbon monoxide detector, which is, please, I've mentioned it a billion times as well, but if you are someone that has to rely on heating sources like this, please, please, please make sure to have a carbon monoxide detector for your home and for your room. Better safe than sorry. So yeah, that's my little protection, I guess. So far, it's okay, and nothing super crazy going off with it unless the batteries go out, I guess. But yeah, I'm just ready for it to be warm again, man. Like, I'm okay. Here we are. This is a danger zone again. Okay, there we go. Now, whether or not I can get back up to the sewers, that's the question. We'll just have to keep going, I guess. Keep trying. But yeah, please make sure to get your carbon monoxide detectors if you have one. Make sure the batteries are all stocked up. But yeah, I'm just ready for it to be warm again. I need to get out of where I live is the real problem more than anything else. I miss living on the West Coast, and the coldest it ever got where there was like 54 degrees. And I know a lot of people are sometimes like, 54, look at you, baby. And it's like, why is that a problem? Like, I moved there, I moved there for that reason in the first place. Like, it doesn't make you somehow, harder a harder of a person, a more real man if you don't like cold weather, I guess. So yeah, I would just like to get back there at some point. And just enjoy my life without having to worry about the cold. I've got plenty of things I've got to deal with already. The cold on top of it is a little bit much. There we go. All right. So I gotta get back into the muscle memory of things here. Okay, too much, too much. Up here we go. All right, good start, everybody. Here we are back in the bog. That's Jump King. That's the rule of the land, I guess. So yeah, I've been spending the past couple of days when I haven't been working, just trying to catch up on a few things in Final Fantasy 14 and just just chill out for a little bit. Work is not it's not super hard or anything like that. It's not what I expected. I'm working at a big clothing retailer. It's a lot more merchandising and inventory than I thought it was going to be, which I'm not a big fan of. It's nice not having to deal with customers all that much, but I've turned down a lot of jobs. Or well, not really a lot. But I've had retailers that have tried to put me in inventory to start, and I'm like, no, that's not what I applied for. I applied for, a cashier position or a customer service position or something like that, right? And then they try weaseling me into inventory. I get to the interview and it's like, oh, we're really looking for you for this position. It's like that's not what I applied for. That's why would you call me and waste my time? Sorry about that. Waste my time and your time for a position that I'm not even remotely interested in. Just listen to my resume. It's not that hard. Put me where I applied to be and everything will be hunky dory. But this job, it's like everyone kind of does inventory management. Like there's not really a whole lot of selling. Even customer services is just like you do a couple returns every now and then everything else is like boxing up like Amazon stuff and returning it to the back room. So it's kind of annoying. Yeah, it's a job. That's really all I can say about it. It's just kind of annoying that they're trying to put me into that position already. So, it's nice that they're good with my hours. So far, I've got my schedule for next week. They have been really one of the few retailers that have actually listened to me and whenever I said, "Hey, I'm only available like this many hours a week tops. Please do not schedule me for more than that." That's been a big issue, but thankfully they've been good about that. So we'll see. I've applied to a couple other positions, and we'll see if maybe one of these other jobs pans out at some point. Okay. I think the big part of it is like I don't mind doing inventory stuff in a smaller store, but when it's a big ass department store, like I don't know, it just seems very outdated. When I worked at Best Buy, inventory was its own team. Like as a salesperson, my job was sales. I would help with the totes during truck nights after inventory had already sorted through them and put them in their appropriate positions, right? But beyond that, I didn't touch inventory. It was just a little bit of backstocking here and there. And beyond that, my job was to sell. Like they explicitly said, hey, your job is to sell. Don't bother the inventory team. If inventory is getting bothered with customers, go over there and help them out because inventory's job is not to sell, right? And I actually really liked that. I hated the actual selling work, I think, for the most part. And I think a lot of that is just where I live. If I was somewhere where people were more like my age or younger, I don't think it would be as much of an issue. I'd probably still be there because I pay a lot more than I'm getting now, right? But yeah, it's just moving to another retail store that doesn't have that designation and doesn't have their own inventory and merchandising team that handles all of that stuff, it just seems very, very outdated and very inefficient. So yeah, it's little wonder whenever I see all of these news articles about, oh, these department stores are failing or something like that, and then you actually work at the department stores and it's like the stuff you're doing was outdated 10 years ago, let alone now. and you're still doing this. This is how you're running things. This is how the company's organized. Like, we don't even have online sales in my current department store. Like, if you want to do online sales, you have to have them download the app on the phone, and they get free shipping if they order while they're on the store's Wi-Fi. But beyond that, the POS systems, the register systems, don't have access to any online sales. Like, how ridiculous is that? Like, when you really think about it, like Best Buy, like the nice thing with them was like online sales were probably, I would say, half, if not more, of my sales because the registers basically have a web browser built in and access to our entire inventory and online sales all directly through the register. So if I was looking at something and that we didn't have in the store, customer comes in, wants a computer, we don't have a computer. Gaming computers were a big thing, right? Um, you know, we're a smaller store, so we only had so much of that stuff in. I could take them over to like one of the big iMacs or one of the big all-in-ones, and we could literally browse the website there on the big old 27-inch monitor, find them an item that they liked, and then I could go to the register with that SKU and order it right then and there, all integrated into the system. And the few retail jobs I've had since I left Best Buy, none of them have had that. And it is just absolutely ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. And they wonder why the companies are failing, right? So, yeah, it's one of those things where I know I shouldn't care as much. Like, it's a temporary job for me. Like, this is only a job that I am doing to fund the actual things that I want to do, right? Like, it's just money to invest into this channel and do a couple other things. Basically, try and save up enough to get out of where I'm at right now, right? So, I know I shouldn't care as much. It just it never feels good going into work to do a job that you don't want to do, right? Like, I don't want to go in tomorrow and be placed at the customer service desk and end up just doing Amazon returns all day. Like, that just really annoys me, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that makes me think I could be doing something else with my time right now. Like, I could be streaming. I could be working on thumbnails. I could be doing some more, video production or something like that. So, yeah, it is what it is. We'll make do. But yeah, it's very enlightening coming on the heels of a lot of the uh a lot of the economic news that you see nowadays. And the thing is, like, the one thing that I do like about it is that most of the people there are my age or younger, so they kind of get it, right? Like, some of the other jobs that I've had, most of the managers and everyone were your pretty typical older Gen X boomer generation, right? And they're all about the company, like they're all about the man, right? But they don't really see how things are done nowadays. Like, it's just that's how their store's always done it. That's how corporate's always done it, so they don't really question it. But when you're shuffling around to a lot of jobs like that, I shouldn't say a lot, it's been like two or three, I guess, in the past year. But yeah, so shuffling around to jobs like that and seeing like how an efficient store does it and how a successful store does it versus how a company that is basically threading the line of bankruptcy at any given point does it, like, it makes sense. And I know that those older managers are the same people that complain about how they can't get, people hired and they can't and no one wants to work, and like, oh, this is why companies are failing and this kind of thing. It's like, no, that's not really it. Like, I could go through and tell you exactly what the company is doing wrong, what it needs to invest in, just from working at a company that does it well, right? Like, it's like, are they just not doing any market research at all? Like, do they see Best Buy and they're just like, oh, well, they're an electronics retailer, we're a clothing retailer, so there's nothing that we can learn from it. Like, is that the mindset that's going on? That's really the only thing that I can assume is happening, right? Like, I really have no other explanation for it. Like, your POS system, if nothing else, is like, that's like one of the most important parts of the job. and of the company. Like that's where the sales happen. So I feel like that should be something that would be like one of the first things that most companies start looking at to try and invest in and try and improve upon. And it doesn't seem to be the case, right? Okay. The other one is like, oh, well, we have to compete with Amazon and that kind of thing. That's another one that I hear a lot of is, oh, we have to compete with Amazon and this is what we got to do. And then they don't do all of the things to like integrate online buying into their store. And the other thing is like, that's a very, very wrong mindset to go in, right? We're trying to compete with Amazon. No one is going to compete with Amazon. Absolutely no one. The best they can do is try and take out a little bit of the market share and try and offer something unique. I think a lot of the successful retailers going on right now are the ones that have, really good service plans. Best Buy, I don't think Total Tech Support would be for me. I think they're going to have an issue as a lot of the older generation that uses it starts fading away due to time. I'll just put it nicely, I guess. Um, and younger people like us who are, a little bit more in tune with technology probably aren't going to need it as much. But overall, I mean, that's a big driver of the sales there and why they're doing so well is they do still have a lot of people that are buying it. But a lot of these other retailers don't have anything like that. Yeah, I don't know how a clothing retailer would really do it, to be fair. But yeah, that's something that like Amazon doesn't have. It's something that you can go into the store, talk with a person. I think people even younger generations like that, like having that option. Personally, I go into a store and it's like, don't talk to me. But I'd like the option of knowing, like, if I do need help or I do need assistance, that I've got someone there that specializes in that to talk to that can help me out, right? So, that's a big thing. But at the end of the day, you know, Amazon, I think it's only like a third of their revenues come from their actual sales. They run servers that run half of the internet. They own a space rocket company. No one is competing with Amazon. The only ones that are going to take down Amazon is the US government, the US Justice Department. And that's if they decide to break up Amazon. That is the only thing that is going to come close to touching them, right? So I think companies are doing, a lot of things under the wrong approach because of Amazon, and they don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of scrambling to try and make things work instead of focusing on the things Amazon doesn't do or what they can bring to the same things that Amazon sells in the retail space, right? And a lot of that comes down to customer service. A lot of that comes down to additional offerings that you've got. It comes down to having items actually in the store is another big one. So yeah, it's been interesting going to this one. This is it's yeah, it's not not a terrible job. It's a pretty standard like low pay, barely above minimum wage job, I guess. It's gonna help me pay some bills, which I think is really the important thing. But it is kind of eye opening. And normally I wouldn't rant about this stuff on stream. I feel like I try not to get into like politics or economics or anything like that, but one of the big things to kind of keep in mind with me is that my minor was in marketing, and marketing has always kind of been a passion of mine. Not even necessarily marketing, but like advertising. I really like that stuff because there's a good combination between, technology and creativity that comes with it that I just really love. I love creating campaigns and using technology to do so. That's one of the big, fun parts about streaming is really kind of coming up with the new stuff to stream, coming up with new ideas. I really, really enjoy that stuff. Like it's not necessarily like political or economic talk for me. It's something I genuinely enjoy enough that I minor in it at the very least, right? So yeah, I think that marketing person in me is kind of coming out whenever I see these things. And I'm just like, man, if this is how they're running the company, how am I in like the basic sales position? like like genuinely, like how am I not like a consultant for these companies at this point if this is how they're running things so far? Like I could do a better job than this. So yeah, it's been eye-opening. It's been interesting. Thankfully, tomorrow's a short shift. It is going to be later, like it's an afternoon shift, so I don't know if I'll be able to stream tomorrow. I'm going to try to, maybe like a late night stream. It'll be after like 10 p.m. Eastern time or so. But yeah, we might hop in and play some more FF6, try and find Locke. I looked through a little bit more of the walkthrough just to kind of see where we're at. I didn't really read a whole lot of it, just, kind of doing basic like name searching to see if I could find people. I didn't find where I'm supposed to get Go-Go, so I should probably do that at some point. But we're not too far away from Locke. We do still have, it looks like, the Zone Eater dungeon. So that's going to be probably the next stream. I'm hoping we can make it a longer one and actually get Locke, because Locke should come pretty far after that. But he is kind of at the end of a pretty long dungeon with a very intimidating boss from the sounds of it. So we'll just have to kind of play it by ear. I have no idea how difficult the Zone Eater is going to be. That's another thing that I've never done in any of my previous playthroughs of the game. So it's gonna be eye-opening, I think. It's gonna be interesting. Man, I am just really having trouble with these three bushes. Just get me back up to the sewers, man. We were doing so well. But yeah, I'm just kind of wanting to keep you guys in the loop in terms of the schedule and what we're going to be doing and everything. So I think it's you know me, I don't really make formal schedules or anything like that, but just kind of give you a heads up if you want to watch more of the FF6 stream. More than likely, given that tomorrow's a late shift, I will probably end up doing it on Thursday. So if you do want to watch it, just keep that keep that bookmarked. Keep Thursday bookmarked. Either way, we will probably end up doing something Thursday. If not FF6, you can always watch the VOD of that. I'm going to try and use these days off as best as I can and try and stream just about every day that I have off. So yeah, just keeping you guys, up to date in terms of everything going on with the channel. There might be a day or two here and there that I might take a break from streaming, and more than likely it's because I'm doing something off stream for the channel. I've mentioned a few times that I am going to be commissioning a VTuber avatar after a couple paychecks, so that's going to be part of it. But part of that is that I'm going to be doing the rigging myself, so I do need to take a couple of days just to like get into Live 2D, play around with it a little bit more, just try and take some like basic drawings that I might find on the internet or something, and just try and get used to it, so I can jump in and get ready to go. So don't be surprised if there is a day or two. I'm gonna try making sure it's not too many, but it is gonna happen at some point where I'm just gonna need to take a day. So please understand. But it is for the channel. It is to improve things here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll still be a couple of months before we actually get the VTuber stuff done. I'm still looking at artists. I still haven't quite found quite the one that I think is going to be the one. I haven't found my mama yet, I guess, if you want the VTuber terminology. But we're getting there. It's slowly getting there. And at this rate, it's going to take me a while to reach the babe, so we've got time, to say the least. Okay. The thing is, I'm not annoyed at this game. I'm annoyed at myself. It's I'm annoyed at how I'm playing. So yeah, that's just kind of my general rant, my kind of beginning of the stream rant to kick things off. But let's talk about the fun stuff, shall we? Let's talk about the thing on everyone's mind. So, how's it going, Raiders? I guess some stuff happened the past couple of days. I've mentioned a billion times that I've skipped this tier. I just can't do Party Finder like that. I get so burned out of it not having a static, so I've skipped this tier. Just been casually playing and enjoying my time. But obviously, I'm in a big FF14 Discord. I've seen the news. You can't miss it on Twitter. It's time to talk about mods again. it's, Here we go. How many rounds has this been? How many times have we talked about this, both on stream and just as a community? It feels like it comes up either at the end of every Savage tier, at the end of every Ultimate at this point. And yeah, we're back at it. But this time Yoshi came in and said a few things. He's a very disappointed dad right now, and I can't really blame him. So I've had my stance on this plenty of times on the channel, that I'm absolutely unequivocally anti gameplay mods. Always have been, always will be. I was like that in WoW as well. Right? In WoW, I did not even use weak auras until Mythic Gore Fiend. Like I did all of HFC up until Mythic Gore Fiend. And that's finally what made me install weak auras, and we didn't play much longer after that. After that's kind of when my group kind of fizzled out, and I got kind of sick of beating my head against that wall. Right? I think I had a weak auras for my roll the bones just to see the timers of it a little bit bigger. I could do it without it. Yeah, look up at the debuff at the buff bar. But it was just like a little quality of life one. And that was my only weak auras. I did not have any big time weak auras through almost the entirety of HFC. And I don't think I really had any weak auras at the beginning of BFA either. I didn't do too much raiding in BFA, but once I started it again and got into another group, we started fresh. And yeah, I had my roll the bones one and got rid of most of the weak auras stuff. I despise mods. I despise mods. Now, it needs to be said that there is a difference in mods. Like, there is so much whataboutism going on in the community with the pro mod teams and the anti mod teams, right? There's always like, well, what about ACT? What about this? What about this? I think there is a very, very clear difference between the kind of mods that most people are talking about and the kind of mods Yoshi's talking about that are just very blatant gameplay mods. Stuff like UAV mods, that kind of thing. UAV mods, things that put markers down that show you where AoEs would be that you would not normally see, those kind of things, right? I think there's a very clear difference between that and basically a calculator mod that that just shows you the damage on a nice little spreadsheet, right? So, yeah, I don't think Yoshi is in the wrong on calling out this action, calling out and not acknowledging the team that got the world first. And it seems like the team that got the world first is already doing their things to apologize for it. I guess one person that wasn't even part of the raid team but was part of the P8S team like said he would delete his character. So, I mean, I don't know if you need to go that far, but yeah, so I'm firmly on the anti-mod stance. All right. Now, one of the big things that I always see is people saying, it's just doing things that that make it a little bit easier for callouts, or doing things you would already do anyways. It's just automating it. And I think the best response to that would be that Folding Ideas video not too long ago, because they made the point, and this is the point that I have kind of made a few times on the channel, right? That anything that automates, anything that takes off that mental capacity, anything that takes a little burden off of that mental capacity that you have at any given time, that is a cheat. You're doing it in a way that is making it easier for you. It doesn't matter if it's automating it. It doesn't matter if it's doing something you would normally do anyway. If it makes it one less thing that you have to think about, then congratulations, it does make it a cheat. It does make it easier for you. You can try and justify it however you want, but that's the truth of the matter. I think one of the big things with this, more than anything else, is that esports and gaming, even though we kind of know that they've been around a while, as just like a professional field, it's still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, right? It's still fairly young. There's been esports, especially in like fighting games and whatnot, for a very, very long time. But it's never been like the business that it is right now until fairly recently. And I think one of the big things with it is the accessibility of it kind of makes people think that there's kind of a blurred line a little bit, right? So, you know, because anyone can download a mod, because you're just sitting here at the keyboard or with your controller just playing a thing, like anyone can do it, right? So it does make it feel like there's some kind of blurred line involved. Oh God, here we go. Okay, it begins. It begins. This is gonna be the jump of this portion, isn't it? Oh, okay, this is fine. It's okay because it's more time to rant, which is what I wanted to do anyways. Right? So I think, especially in the field of gaming, part of it's the accessibility, and part of it's because a lot of it is kind of counterculture, right? So a lot of gamers, and I don't mean to generalize, but I think, it doesn't apply to everyone, but I think a lot of gamers are always kind of counterculture, right? And they don't always do a lot of the things or like a lot of the things that is popular among most people, right? Like that's why we became gamers, right? Like we're able to build our community of like-minded, awkward folks that don't really associate well with normal society in some ways, right? I think that that's not always the case nowadays. Now that gaming is such a big business and is such a big field now. But I think in general, among the more hardcore types in the community, I think that is kind of the case. And the point that I'm making with this is like a lot of the people that run a lot of the esports, a lot of people who are really into esports and video game culture and whatnot, I think a lot of this mod talk is because a lot of them have not watched real sports. I guess I shouldn't say real sports because I think at this point esports can be kind of defined as a real sport too. But they don't like human sports. They don't watch flesh sports. They don't watch that in American football and the Super Bowl is. I would have people on Worm Rest Accord when I played WoW. Anytime you'd mention real sports, they were like, "Ew, what's that?" Like that was literally like the response, like, "Ew, I don't pay attention to that shit," right? But it's important in the context of this because when it comes to these world first races and it comes to esports and turning rating into like an actual legitimate sport or something like that, even if it's just for charity donations or something like that, you can't complain about a lot of these things and complain about what's happening in the industry right now if you're not paying attention to real sports. You cannot treat the world first race and a high end rating as a sport and as an esport, and then get mad when the owners of the sport start calling you out and start enforcing the rules of their game. And this is something that people who watch those flesh sports have known for a very, very, very long time. It is standard practice, right? The kind of issue we're having with mods now, it really does remind me of the issue that we had in baseball back in the 90s. So, not receiving enough data, that's fine. It's fine, everything's fine, YouTube coon. Okay. But it really does remind me of the issue that we had with baseball in the 90s. Like, I've mentioned baseball a few times on the stream. I don't think you guys realize how big of a deal baseball is in our family. Like, we literally watch almost every single one of baseball's games every year, of our team's games every year. All 162. Every single evening, if it is available on television, it is on in our house. And that includes me. Even if I'm streaming while a game is going on, more than likely my phone has the app up to pay attention to it and check the score and that kind of thing. Maybe that makes me less of a gamer. I don't know. Ooh, he's a normie. Well, so what? So I am. I fucking love baseball, right? And because of that, like, it kind of gives me some context to what all is going on right now in talks with modding. In the end of the 90s, there was the steroid scandal, and that was a big, big deal. That was a massive deal to not just baseball, but I think sports in general. How big of a deal that was. I don't know if a lot of my viewers like remember that. Like, during the Mark McGwire home run race, like, that essentially saved the sport for a long time, right? Like, that got people interested again after several dead years, and kind of revitalized things. And then the steroid scandal came out. I mean, there were congressional hearings on it. It was not a small situation whatsoever. And sure enough, I mean, that kind of changed how baseball does things and how sports in general does things. Nowadays it's still a big deal during the Olympics. There was the Russian skater that was caught, um, that tested positive. And, that became a big thing because, it was her coach that was doing it, and she didn't really know any better. She was only, what, 14, 16, something like that. It's still a major issue when you're caught doping in sports. And to me, that is kind of the same situation as modding, and the modding discussion and what it means to cheat and that kind of thing. And I firmly believe in what Yoshi P was saying. It's like, if you were truly good at this game, if you were truly the person and the gamer that you said you are, then why would you need these mods? And it's the same way in actual sports. You want to know how you get good and make it to the major leagues in baseball? You have a lot of talent. That's how you make the major leagues. You become really good at the game, and you do it better than anyone else in your position, right? Like, that's how you do it. You don't need to cheat. You do it a legitimate way. Now, there's always discussions of as far as like what constitutes cheating. That's not something that ever escapes any kind of competitive field, right? When they first introduced elbow guards into baseball, that was a big deal. It's like, oh, well, now players aren't going to have to switch up as much to try and dodge balls. They'll get hit more, and then they get a free base, right? That was a big thing. Nowadays, it's not as big of a deal. I think most people understands for the protection of the players, right? Um, Especially with everything going on in football and whatnot going on. Like, I don't think anyone's going to argue against protecting players more, but it was still it was a discussion, and it still is a discussion in certain circles of baseball, certain very old school circles of baseball, right? So I mean, that's never going to go away. Just like in modding, just like in Final Fantasy, there's always questions about what constitutes a mod. Does ACT count as a mod? Does Discord count as a mod? Does a ninth person count as a mod if they're spectating and kind of coaching the team? That's it's never going to be in a black and white situation. It's not ever going to be an all-in-one thing. Even with the terms of service saying it is, in terms of intellectual discussion within the community or whatever, just like a real sport, there are always going to be debates about this kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it is Square Enix's game. Just like Major League Baseball determines the rules of Major League Baseball, and just like the NFL determines the rules of the NFL. And if they determine that something is cheating, it is absolutely ridiculous to say, oh, well, every other team is doing it, so we should do it too, and just let it become standard practice. Like, it's such a unique thing in the gaming sphere. It really truly is. When in other sports, it's not really a question at all. It's like, oh, they got caught cheating. Now they're going to get, punished for it. A few years ago, the Astros got caught cheating in the lead up to the World Series. And, there's always going to be people looking for a competitive advantage. There always will be. That's not going to go away. It's just the nature of competition, right? I mean, they were literally banging on trash cans to tip pitches to whoever was batting at the time, right? Like, that's how far they went. But you know what? They got caught, and it became a very, very big deal. And there are still a lot of people, both fans and players, that believe that they did not get punished nearly hard enough for what happened, because they ended up winning the World Series that year, right? And it calls kind of everything that they were doing that season into question, and everything they were doing in the World Series into question, right? So yes, there's always going to be a competitive advantage, but you know what? The reason that they get punished for this stuff is because the majority of players and the majority of people believe in the integrity of the game. And beyond that, there's enough oversight to try and keep it from happening, right? Like, genuinely, you can watch a game, be it soccer, be it football, be it baseball, and you go in with the expectation that everyone is playing equally. And yeah, there's always going to be little tricks here and there. There always will be. But genuinely, it's more in the context of people, kind of outsmarting the other players, right? Versus outright cheating. Like, if a pitcher is tipping pitches and the other team figures it out, so that the runner on second has little call signs to tell his batter what's going on. Like, that's just outsmarting the pitcher, right? But when you start banging on trash cans and using video footage to do that, well, that's starting to cross the line a little bit now, isn't it? And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to modding in Final Fantasy, I think. People want this to be like a strict black and white situation, and they want to say, well, all these whataboutisms about, well, what about this? What about this? And to me, that's just saying, I don't want to take responsibility for getting caught. I don't want to take responsibility for cheating. You got caught cheating. Own it. And don't be surprised and don't get mad when the owners of the game actually enforce their rules. Like, that's what it comes down to. Because believe it or not, I believe that the majority of players do not use a lot of those mods. I think there is probably more than you would think, but I don't think it's nearly as big as some people want to believe. Um, I think it is very much something that seems very unique to the World First race, because, and I've had my opinions about a lot of the people doing the World First stuff and streaming a lot of the World First stuff, but again, I think it's because they are trying to turn it into an esport. They're trying to do it for clout. So they think there's all of these players using this competitive advantage when there's not, you know. And I am firmly on the side of Square, actually punishing a lot of these players and trying to tamp down on this culture of modding in the high-end raid scene. Because again, as kind of told in the Folding Ideas video, like, it does become a culture that becomes outside of the realm of what Square or any game company really officially wants, right? Like, even if a lot of these world first raiders are trying to put it in the context of, oh, well, this is world first, this is world first, this is something that's unique to us because no one else is playing at this level, right? That doesn't matter to a lot of their viewers. All their viewers are going to see is, oh, my favorite streamer did this, so this is what I need to do to play at their level. Because even though most players will never play at their level, everyone likes to think they can, right? It's the old Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Everyone wants to think that they can do that at that level. And it starts to trickle down from there. Oh, my favorite streamer did this, so I'm going to start doing it. And then those people start making party finder stuff. And then they start requiring mods in those party finder listings, right? And then going from there, oh, well, you can't put it in party finder listings or that can be reported. So they start asking you to go onto their Discord to join their team. And oh, well, Square can't do anything about a Discord call, right? So it starts to steamroll very, very quickly if action isn't taken. So I am firmly on the same side as Yoshi P with this, and I wish that they had actually enacted harder punishments. I wish they would have started enacting harder punishments earlier. You know, leading back to the old flesh sports. I mean, you look at doping in baseball, right? You know what happens if you get caught testing positive? Your first offense, your first offense is an 80 game suspension. That is half the season. That is half the season that a potentially very, very good player might be out and hurting their team. Even if they appeal it, they still can't play while the appeal is going on, right? I mean, that is massive. That is a very, very big deal if you were caught cheating in baseball. Now, you could probably make the argument of like, oh, well, a lot of people are cheating and people don't, and people just aren't caught. And I firmly believe that isn't the case. And you know why? Because of how many people are watching, which is exactly what's happening right now is people think that they're doing all of this in secret without realizing how many eyes are on them, how many people within their own team are probably on them, which I guess is what happened with the unnamed video. Is supposedly a burned ninth or 10th person that was promised or whatever. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, right? But yeah, these people are figuring out that like none of this stuff is done in secret. None of these things are ever completely in a bubble. And because of that, if you get cheat, you will more than likely get caught eventually. Even if everyone is super hush hush about it, more than likely all it's going to take is burning one person and then all the truth comes to light, because this isn't just a couple people in a LAN party playing video games together anymore, right? Like this is a big industry. There are a lot of people involved. There are a lot of people that watch the world first race. There are a lot of people that donate to Mog Talk for the charity aspect of it. None of this is done in secret, and because of that, it makes it very, very hard to cheat. So I think overall, you know, I think a lot of really esports minded people and a lot of people in FF specifically, but I think even on a broader field in terms of like video games in general, are just kind of going through growing pains and figuring out the lessons that a lot of these real sports learned a long, long time ago when it comes to trying to cheat the owners of the game. Really, I think that's what it comes down to. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. Like I said, I don't think Yoshi will enable like easy anti-cheat or anything like that. I don't think it's possible. There will always be paid mods that can get around it. It will narrow the field quite a bit in terms of, like I said, the culture around it and having that trickle down effect. But I think that's something he said multiple times he doesn't want to do. But obviously, he's going to stop acknowledging these races, which is really one of the only reasons to do it in the first place, right? Um, and we'll see what happens from here. I think the last notice that he put out was, I mean, he wasn't subtle about it. Is saying if you guys are going to keep doing this, then we're just not going to make ultimates, because he said multiple times he wants a casual game that a lot of people can enjoy, right? So we'll see what happens from here. I think one thing that could potentially happen. Okay, here we go. Nope. So maybe if I stand at the very back and do a full jump, maybe that's what I need to do. You know, the other thing is like enabling a lot of those features like easy anti-cheat or anything like that. They're expensive. They're kind of a hassle. And I think that they just don't want to go through the hassle of it. Now, what could happen is, if it keeps being an issue and it becomes a really big thing, what they could do, and that is more potentially viable, is they start issuing takedown notices to the sites that run a lot of these things. Like they could issue and legally do so a takedown notice to FF logs. And there would be literally nothing FF logs could do it other than spend a whole lot of money trying to fight it and more than likely lose because you're not going to win against Square Enix's lawyers. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So yeah, if it becomes a big issue, you might see some DMCA notices going out. Again, it's one of those things that they probably want to avoid because that stuff gets really expensive very, very quickly. And the other thing is, I think they know how much of a community is built around the non-gameplay mods. Like, let's face it, guys. I'm single. I'm on Balmung. Infer from that what you will. But they know there's a big community around it, right? Like, that's a major part of Twitter in certain circles. And if they started issuing takedown notices to, XIV mod archive or whatever, okay, well, that far, huh? Okay. I think they know that they would burn a lot of the community, and they don't want to do that. I think they are trying to ride that fine line between, you know, making sure some things are not acceptable without burning the things that they really don't have an issue with. Like, I don't think they have an issue with, like, burning down the house, right? That's the mod that allows you to basically interact with housing furnishings to build a lot of those really cool houses and stuff you see on Twitter. It adds Z-axis and all kinds of stuff to it. And I think that's something that they've kind of acknowledged themselves in the past live letters is like, hey, some of these mods are on us. Like, these are gameplay features that we should be working on. And I think they understand that something like burning down the house kind of falls under that. Like, they know that they need to expand their housing features by quite a bit. And it could be something that we might see in 7.0. Who knows? We'll just have to see how they are moving along with the graphical update and some of the underworking systems and whatnot. So I think they understand that some of these mods are definitely because they have failed as developers on approaching some of these things. Like, no one's going to get mad at chat bubbles, right? I think if we do start seeing some more of these third-party mods added, like officially into the game, I think chat bubbles will probably be like the first one added in, right? Like, no one really has an issue with chat bubbles, and I think it's probably like the most popular mod out there, right? So some of this stuff they understand. They understand why people are using this stuff. They're not going to get mad at people being horny on Twitter. Why would they? That's a big part of the community. But, they do have to draw the line somewhere, and they have to draw the line in a very, very big way, I think. Because at a certain point, it does start affecting gameplay, and it does start entering that esports aspect of it, and it does start blocking off parts of the game to other players. If you build your own nice little house, hey, that's fine. It's not affecting anyone. You get a nice little house, no one cares. But if it starts becoming one of those things where it's like you have to join a Discord to join this party finder group, and that starts becoming a regular thing, and it starts blocking players off because they don't have certain mods, yeah, that's a big thing. And they know, I think in a very, very big way, that it is because of the community around it, and it is because of that trickle down effect, right? And how things spread very, very quickly from one small thing into very, very big things. So yeah, they do have to put down their foot at some point or another. But yeah, we'll just have to see where it goes. But yeah, my stance on it's been pretty clear. I don't use gameplay mods. Never needed them. If people are like, "Oh, well, that's just world first," you're obviously not on the world first team and all of this other stuff. Like, look, guys, I've said it a billion times. If anyone has any questions about whether or not I can play Red Mage, look me up. By all means, look me up. That's fine. I'm like 10 eye levels below most people who actually did this rate tier, and I'm still putting up numbers. So, if people are wondering that you have to have these mods to play the game and stay competitive, nah. That's always been my stance. Telling me otherwise just that just fuels the spite for me to try harder, right? To me, if you need those cheats and you need those tools to be a world first raider, nah, you're not actually as good at the game as you thought. That's always been my stance, and it always will be my stance. Again, if you want to make it to the big leagues, just play well. Just play better than everyone else. That's what it comes down to. So yeah, that's my rant, and I rant about mods and a little bit of a discussion on Major League Baseball history, I guess. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I think I think if esports and this discussion keeps going on as it always has, I think you're really going to have to pay attention a lot more to what actual sports have done and how they've dealt with these things over the past several decades. Because I mean, they went through a lot of these growing pains too. In MLB, it was the spitball era, and football's had its own share of things. Every sport's done it, and in esports, world first rating, whatever your game of choice happens to be, it's just going through its era right now of doing this. But I think a lot of these gamers that are very pro mods and pro cheating and believe that you have to have these mods to stay competitive, I think over the next, not necessarily next patch in terms of Final Fantasy, but I think over the next 10 years or so, just in gaming as a whole, I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff kind of come into light and be adjusted. And I think they're going to find out the hard way, that their the side of history typically does not fall with them if you're cheating. As it's really what it comes down to. We'll see if esports can grow. Yeah, a lot of it's going to determine where things go from here. Um, I think if we are going to have this discussion and bring the scene forward, a lot of it kind of falls on to how big esports grows just as a whole over the next 10 years. There's been a few sparks here and there with like Overwatch League and stuff, but it's still not quite the same. It's still not competing with the NFL. It's still not competing with MLB. Any of the other big five, I guess you could say. So it's really got to do some work to make it to that level. And I think this discussion and these things happening, for as hilarious as it can be, I've loved seeing the UAV memes, but as hilarious and oftentimes infuriating as having these discussions over and over has been, I think it is something that is kind of necessary if esports are going to grow, just on the whole, you know, just as a sport, as an actual commodity. It's something that needs to be done. It's a discussion that has to be had. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what's going on from here. We'll see what happens with the OCP and if if there's going to be any other ultimates. I know they supposedly deleted the achievements and titles and weapons from unnamed. So that's a pretty massive step. That's more than I've ever seen them do. But I think at the next step, if this keeps happening, I think you're going to start seeing some bans and some very long bans. Um, yeah, yeah. All I can say is, if you see people cheating, report it, even if it's on one of the world's worst first teams. If you're part of one of those teams and you don't like what's going on, you don't like the culture surrounding the mods, do what that guy did and put the video out. That's really all it comes down to. If you don't do it, eventually another team is, and yeah, you can see where the side of history falls for most of these sports, right? But yeah, meanwhile, I'm just taking my time and enjoying leveling up my blacksmith and armor after all of these years. That's where I've been in Final Fantasy lately. I do want to kind of get back involved with Savage raiding for the next year. We'll see how it goes. Again, it's scrubbing along in Party Finder. Man, it's not even that it's hard. It's just so exhausting. And the anxiety of getting into new teams, and yeah, I really need to find a static for the next year, but again, it kind of circles back to the talk we just had. Like, I don't want to join Discords and have to do all of these trials and all of this stuff just to raid, man. I just want to hop in and do it. I know you can clear up to, the final boss without it. It's just so much longer and so much more exhausting doing that. Man, the cycle of party finder groups it's real, man. So yeah, I've just been taking my time and leveling up and getting some very hey, we did it. Is this our sort of safe spot? I don't know if it is or not. Okay. Okay, so this one's the one I always remember Allie kind of having an issue with. Like, it's not quite a full jump. Yeah. Kind of gotta... Okay, so we'll see. So yeah, it's been nice to finally get some of this stuff done. I think the next big thing I need to do before the next patch is just, is really go through and bear down and try and finish up the rest of my jobs. I want that Amaro mount. I really do. And it's taken me so long to do it. I've just been pecking away at it, little by little over all of the years. And yeah, it'd be nice to just finally get it done and be on my way. Hey. Oh, finally. Are we in a safe zone? I know it can get kind of scary if you do something wrong in Blighttown or whatever it is or whatever it's called. They can take you down that left side. But if I remember right, it's like honestly kind of hard to do that. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. I think the only reason it's kind of difficult is because of that crow. Like, I think if you want the crow or the achievement or something like that, it gets kind of scary going over there. But we'll see. We'll see. All I can do is keep jumping forward, right? Yeah, I think that's going to be my next goal. We'll see. It's difficult because, like, as a creator, like, I want to make content for you guys, and a lot of my best content, a lot of the popular content is obviously the talking the red and the welcome sprouts and that kind of thing. And to do those requires doing that hardcore content. Like, that's most of what I do the hardcore content for is for you guys. And if more people start watching and want me to do it, then by all means I'll do it. I'll hop in the party finder and beat my head against the wall for savages as much as you guys want me to, I guess. Okay. I feel like there was a way to do this. There we go. Like, I feel like that's a shortcut of some kind, is to jump up the wall like that, right? Yeah. There we go. I knew it. I knew it. But, presumably if enough people were watching to make that a reality, presumably I wouldn't need to find a static. I would just play with you all. I'd be, I have no problem doing that. It's a lot better than jumping into Party Finder. I would much rather play with viewers than jump into Party Finder all day, So yeah, if people keep watching the stream and want to do Savages next year, by all means, let's do it, man. Let's let's hop in there and play some games together. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean we'll be any faster. No, I don't necessarily think that we'll be racing for world first a as a YouTube streamer team. But you know, we'd have some familiar faces, and we can go at our own pace and have some fun. You know, if you guys want, I would love to do T. You know, I like the Omega weapons. I think they do look kind of cool. But I don't know if they're so cool that I'd want to do that first over T. Like, I really like the T weapons, man. Like, the Omega weapons are very cool, and I do want them eventually. But I don't think it's something that, like, I would want to necessarily jump into, like, immediately and get that done first thing, right? Like, I would be perfectly fine doing some of the older Ultimates and doing T first. And getting that weapon first. That would make me a very happy red mage. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of don't know how to approach this one. Okay. I do feel a little better now that we're kind of in a little bit of a safe zone. Not much of one, but a little bit, right? There we go. Yeah, I don't know if I want to risk it. Like, I don't know which way I'm supposed to go here. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to go left, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, same as always. Like, subscribe. If you like watching me and like watching my VODs, share the videos. There's my call to action for the day, I guess. Here we go. Okay. Too much, too much. Like, I don't think I have to go outside. I hope not. I would prefer not to. That's too scary. I don't want to fall all the way back down there. Like, I know this is the other pain point is getting over there and falling back down into the old falling back down. Okay, there we go. Okay. So that actually wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Is it her? Nope, just me, man. Sorry, sorry, buddy. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is fine. But I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with the muscle memory on some of this stuff. There's a couple times, like this jump right here, where it's kind of tricky, like it's not quite a full jump. Like that one I haven't run into all that often, so it feels a little janky. But we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we'll make it. Yeah, this one's going to be another big one. Alright. Nice. Okay. Alright. Yeah, the other thing is, yeah, I'm excited to do some more things with the stream. I am going to be doing kind of a special little project, trying something a little bit new here in the future. I need to spend some time tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to do it before work or after work to do a little bit in After Effects. It'll be a non-cam stream, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, we're going to have some fun. and it'll be a little different for the channel, something I've never done before, but I've had suggested several times. So we're gonna give it a try. You might have an idea of what I'm talking about, but we'll keep it as a nice little surprise, I guess. The other thing is I've got to go through some of my personal files and try and find a few things. Try and find a few things that are going to be usable for the stream. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be shaking some things up a bit. You know, I want to try new things on the stream, right? Like I don't want to settle with just doing video games. I don't want to settle with just doing one video game the entire time. So yeah, it'll be a little different. It might work, it might not. I really have no idea. All I can do is give it a shot, and if people don't watch it, that's fine. We can always fall back on the old FF14. But you know, I want to give it a shot. And I think it's important, like, as a streamer, just as a content creator in general, to always try new things. You know, don't always just be satisfied with doing one thing over and over again. I don't think you really can. Like, if you want your channel to grow, you've got to try and do things. And, you know, you might run into a situation where, yeah, some people are not going to like all your content. But if you're doing everything routinely and you're trying and experimenting a little bit and shaking things up, what'll happen is, you know, maybe some people don't like my Jump King streams, but they like my 14 streams. So they come and watch me for that. But maybe some people don't like my 14 streams, but they like it when I'm doing the classic Final Fantasy, so they watch those. Right? So you have some content creators or some content viewers like a little bit of everything, and they watch you because they like you. I hope you like me. I try to be likable. Few people I've met in the past might say otherwise, but yeah, I try to be, you know, and make a welcoming environment. But you know, it's not always going to work for everyone. But you know, some people like you and want to watch all your streams, but some people just like certain streams that you do, and that is perfectly okay. You know, you don't have to like all of my streams, but I hope you like some of my streams. And as we move forward and try different things, you know, hopefully some new people can find their way to my little channel and build up a little bit more of our community and have some more fun, right? And the more fun that we get to have on the channel, the more people that watch, and the more fun that we have, and the more people that donate and have a good time and give me those ad revs, right? I guess the more people that do that, the more fun we get to have in the future, because that means, you know, I can slowly not have to work retail, and I can invest in more things for the stream and do more fun things for the stream, and it just kind of cycles in onto itself, right? Like that's the ultimate goal, is to have fun with viewers and hope you guys like me enough to watch me enough that I don't have to do anything else but stream, that I don't have to worry about another job. And then we can do this full time. Because when that happens, it means we get to experiment and play more and make the stream better. So yeah, that's kind of what this special project that I'm working on is going to be. It'll be a live stream. I don't know how it's going to go. I really don't. Especially live. I have to dust off some skills that I haven't really used since high school. I kind of use them while I'm streaming, but not quite in this way, right? I do use those skills occasionally when I do like the pre-made videos and the documentary essay stuff, but this will be a little bit different because it's going to be live. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. I am excited to do it though. I'm excited to have a stream where I don't have to have the camera on. That's the other big thing, is not having to have the camera on. But it'll be another thing that I can maybe add into the old bucket list if people really like it. because it could potentially be something you see me do a little bit more once the VTuber avatar is done, right? So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, I have to make some stuff in After Effects, make like a nice little animated background kind of thing going on, right? So you have something to look at, you know. That's just how it is. We'll see how it goes because I haven't really touched After Effects since my Final Fantasy documentary. So I've forgotten like most of the things that I learned already. But it's not really gonna be anything like super like difficult. It's mostly making my background in Photoshop, doing some color work and that kind of thing, and then adding some particle effects on top of it. Like that's what I need the After Effects for, some motion particles kind of floating around. I don't really know how to make like floating things. I don't know if there's even like a built-in effect that could do it for me. That would make things really easy. Yeah, it'll probably be on like an annoying like 20-second loop or whatever, but you know, it's fine. It'll serve the purposes that we need. Otherwise, I'll just have to go through the well of YouTube how to videos, YouTube DIY videos, and hope for the best. Hope one of them has something that shows what I need. Okay, so just a little longer on that one, huh? My problem is I haven't used a full jump all that much since hitting the sewers. I've kind of forgotten the timing on the full jump. If you forget the timing on the full jump, you kind of forget the timing on the slightly less than full jump. There we go. Okay. See, that one's the tricky one because I always hold it just a little bit too long. There you go. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it'll be fun. I don't know when we'll do it. Like I said, I've got to find some stuff that I can use for the stream. It'll be like B-roll stuff of things I've made because I can't use the really good stuff for obvious reasons. You'll see when we get to it. But it'll all be like homemade content, which will be fun. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, you know, it's kind of odd that people are like will like unsubscribe or subscribe for just like the weirdest stuff. Like, oh, you don't just play 14, so you know I'm no longer gonna watch you. And then on the other hand, you have like I saw Kiara today was gonna do an ironing stream. Like that's it. That's the content. She's doing a hand cam of herself ironing. So it's there really are just like no rules to how to do this. So I'm just gonna put myself out there and try a bunch of different things and see where it takes me. If nothing else, I'll have fun. All right. Here we go. All right. But you know, I think the only thing that's really going to be consistent, and I kind of feel bad about it because like I never want to be like the gaming opinion man. I don't want to be the guy that like all of his clicks come from making people angry. I've always tried to sell myself as like the NPR of video game players, right? So, you know, I feel kind of bad ranting about like the FF mod stuff. I feel like it is something that needed to be addressed. So, you know, take my opinion for what it's worth, I guess. That's all I can do is just throw it out there. And we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program of fighting my way back up to this cellar. Okay, there we go. There we go. Hey, we did it. Finally. Now we can relax and chill a little bit more. I'd really like to get back up to the bookcases. If I can get back up to like the little witches coven area thing, I don't really know what it is. If it's a witches area, a kitchen, whatever you want to call it. If I can get back up there, I think that'll be a good point to end it, right? Okay, but I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling better about it. It's just this stupid little ledge. Man, like I never quite do enough, but a full is too much. And this is where Jump King really starts kind of getting past the tutorial. Like everything up to this point is kind of a tutorial. It's kind of like, hey, let's get you used to the muscle memory required for some of this, right? Like that's really what everything up to the sewers is. And now from this point, it really kind of starts getting into like, okay, hey, you really kind of need to know how to time your jumps. And we're not even in the Blight Town area yet. I don't even know if it's what it's called. I just call it Blight Town because of Dark Souls, right? Plague Town, whatever you want to call it. There we go. We're not. We're okay. Well, we might be ending the stream about where we started, unfortunately. It is what it is. There we go. I think if we're gonna keep this up, I think I'm gonna need to find some more license-free music to put on in the background, just to chill, just to make myself more interested than anything. All right. There we go. Almost. Ah, come on. Come on. I can do better. I'm mad at myself because I know I can do this better than I am. I know I can if I just really concentrate and really focus. But all I can think about is like, man, I really don't want to go to work tomorrow. Like that is genuinely what I'm thinking about. Like for most of this, it's just how much it. I've only really worked like 4 or 5 days at this point, and it's already at that point where I don't want to go into work. Like that's never a good sign, right? Like Best Buy I liked for a while. It was a decent job for a few years. I definitely disliked a lot of the customers that came in. And again, a lot of that's tied to where I live. I liked my coworkers. I liked learning new things and dealing with technology. And I really didn't mind like selling. I really didn't mind the selling aspect of it. It was only really after I got my degree and realized like, hey, this kind of selling that I'm doing is like what actual marketers use. And they get paid a lot more than $15 an hour. Why am I doing it for that much, right? Like after that point is like really when I started getting into like, okay, time to move on, right? It got to a point after a while where it's just I don't like the customers coming in. I'm saying I'm tired of doing the same thing every day and having the same discussions every day, right? But that took like 5 years. I was there for a long time, and I still like in terms of retail jobs is probably one of the best ones that I've had. And as a company, I think there's a lot of decisions that they're making that I do not like. But in terms of like the organizational structure and what they do to support the employees and support the sales, they're still one of the best. So it's very easy to like look at other companies and start like comparing them to Best Buy because Best Buy in terms of like a lot of the things that are they're doing right, like they're doing a very good job at it in terms of like organization and structure, right? A lot of the things that I disagree with that they're doing wrong, I think are more like pricing and just very basic capitalism kind of things, right? really kind of nickel and diming certain things. And I think that's where they're going wrong. But in terms of like the actual company structure and that kind of thing, nah, they're doing great. And I wish a lot of these other retail companies would start looking at them both to support their employees and to honestly support the customer. So a lot of the things that Best Buy does right really does make things a lot easier for the customer as well, right? But yeah, as I was saying, like it took me 5 years to get to that point with Best Buy. Here I'm 5 days into this and I'm already sick of it, right? Like that that's when you know things are bad. So, oof, we'll just have to see how things go. I don't know. Maybe as I ease into it, I think a lot of it is also like I'm still kind of new at the job, so I'm not really getting the kind of training that I would like. It's just kind of like being thrown to the wolves. And yeah, it does make it a little bit trickier, but maybe I'll get there and after a couple of days I start getting into the point where it's like, okay, I don't really have to deal with customers all that much, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, it's just I really don't like inventory and warehouse stuff. It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't on top of my normal customer service stuff. It's really kind of combining the two that's really kind of annoying me so much. Like having to deal with customers on top of managing like inventory and warehouse. Like it's specifically Amazon returns and how we have to handle them and like some of the other stuff with tagging and everything. With getting returned merchandise that doesn't have tags and stuff. Like our company's really not organized all that well at all, so stuff just backs up so quickly. And a lot of that is because customer service has to deal with all of this stuff at once. And yeah, I think that's the aspect of it that I'm not gonna like. Like the actual like tagging and inventory stuff. I hate being stuck with that job after very specifically like saying, "Hey, I don't want to do these things." In quite blatantly like saying, "Hey, this is not what I applied to do." But on its own, it's not that bad. Like you don't have to deal with customers. You can kind of zone out and do your own thing for a few hours. But when you start combining the two, it does start getting very, very annoying very quickly. And yeah, I'm already over it. A large part of that is just like I'm not a very big guy. Like there's I'm not the most masculine man that has ever come around, right? Like it's just I've had almost 40 years to come to terms with that. I'm fine with it. Moving boxes and dealing with inventory and carrying all of this stuff around is not what I was built to do. I'm a salesman. I'm a marketing man. I like discussing technology and discussing strategy and that kind of thing. I'm very much the kind of person that if I had better connections and was born in a better spot in life, I'd probably be one of those like high-paid consultants in life, right? Because I like analyzing that kind of thing. So yeah, inventory and merchandising for me, it's more a physicality kind of thing. Like I'm not going to complain all that much about, potentially getting some exercise in. I would like to not be so skinny. I would like to be a more masculine guy sometimes. God knows it might actually help my love life a little bit, but for right now, it's kind of the cards that I've been dealt. So when it comes to inventory and stuff, like I physically cannot move around stuff like that. Like Best Buy always wanted me to like move into the and like two different Best Buys tried to move me into the inventory team before I finally convinced them like, hey, no, I'm not joining your company. This is not what I applied to do. And finally I found one that was like, oh, well, we really want you on the team. So yeah, we'll move you into sales. And a large part of it is like, have you seen the stuff Best Buy has? You're talking like 85-inch televisions, man. I can't get that stuff down. It's just yeah, it's not how I was built. I think if streaming ever does become a nice enough thing that I can like live off of it, I think, I will finally start going back to the gym. I really liked having that gym in college, and getting it for free is just being a student. You can go to the student rec center and have all of this equipment. I actually did try to go a few times a week when I had my college ID and it was, activated and everything. God damn it. I get so busy talking that I end up missing that one. Right now it's more a time thing. Like I've got this, I've got the streaming, I've got the actual job. I don't have the time. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you can fit in an hour here and there," but I really can't because all of our gyms are like they're a ways away. Like I have to drive to the next town over, right? So I mean it's a good, 15 20 minutes just to get to the gym. You do that both ways. And then, I'm going to want to spend an hour or two there, even if it's just doing some basic stuff. But yeah, I spend, a good 10, 15, 20 minutes just on the um just on the rowing machine sometimes, just doing my cardio work to get warmed up and stretched out and stuff. So, yeah, I mean it really is a time thing for me. It's very different. I'm guessing a lot of these people who are like able to fit in the time are able to just like take a quick bus trip or a quick ride on their subway to the next stop over to their next gym or even just walk there, right? I don't have that luxury. I'm in the Midwest. I live in a very, very small town. Next town over is my only option. And especially right now, with it being it's probably in the teens right now weather-wise. So yeah, it's like you gotta get ready if you're gonna go to the next town over to go to the gym, right? So yeah, it's something that I think is really only gonna be viable if I'm able to start working for myself, like as a job. It's something that I can't really do streaming and trying to work a regular part-time job at the same time. And that's not putting I don't want to put this guy on you guys. Like I know it sounds sometimes like I'm like begging for super chats and stuff. I don't want it to sound like that, right? Like I appreciate any support that you guys want to have, even if it's just watching the VOD later on and giving me those views, giving me those likes. Like that's really all I ask. I appreciate anything else that you guys give me, but that's not my point here. The point is that like it motivates me to try and improve the channel. Like that's ultimately what this is about. Like ooh, I needed to start further back on that. Like the whole point of that is like I want to do this full time for you guys, and that's motivating me to improve the channel and try and do more for you guys and do more for the stream, make things more interesting. So like whenever I say like, hey, I'd love ideas for the stream and what you guys want to see, I really do mean it. I'm always going to do stuff that I want to do to a certain point, and my personality is always going to be what it is. Yeah, I'm never gonna be like the guy that's like yelling and ranting on stream all that. Well, I'll rant every now and then, I guess, but I'm never gonna be like super loud or obnoxious about it. I never want to be like one of those opinion guys, right? It's more talking my thoughts and just talking the news and trying to do it in a way that's interesting. Even if I do rant, I want it to be like intellectual or I don't know about intellectual because I'm pretty dumb sometimes, right? But I want it to be interesting and try and take a discussion to that next level, right? I don't want to just like, hey, here's my opinion and here's what's right about it. I want to try bringing other things into it, right? But yeah, as I was saying, like, my personality will always be what it is, and I'll always be playing games that I want to play. But, I want you guys to enjoy the channel and enjoy watching the kind of content that you guys like. So whenever I say like, "Hey, I'd love ideas for the kind of stuff you want to watch," I really genuinely mean that, because if it is something that I think people are interested in seeing, then I will try my best to get it done. And that's kind of what this special stream that I'm going to be working on is. Again, is something I've seen people kind of suggest a couple of times, and I've never really done it before, so we're going to give it a shot. Why not? If people want to see that kind of content, then absolutely, I am more than willing to try and put in the work and make it happen. But, YouTube analytics is not, it tells me like who's watched like what video and like that kind of thing. But like if people are unsubscribing, it doesn't like have an exit survey so I can know why. If people are subscribing, it doesn't tell me why. The only thing that I can really infer is from the videos themselves. Like, okay, a lot of people subscribed because of my role playing video. Makes sense. That's one of my pre made videos. It was a guide. So that's kind of like the whole point and the reason I made those guides, right? Of course, it's going to have more subscribers. But like, what about the normal streams? What do people like about them? What do people not like about them? Like there's none of that in the Google Analytics. So I really have no idea where people's heads are at when it comes to those type of streams. So yeah, we're gonna keep trying. We're gonna try keep making the channel better. But yeah, feel free to, chat more. I know some people hop in and just watch the stream in the background. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to chat, I've got the chat box up. Um, it's not always not always working the way that I want it to. But like right now, even though, it's been kind of a slow night, and it's understandable, it's the middle of the week, right? I don't have it labeled, but yeah, there's a chat box above the webcam here. So yeah, if people want to chat, feel free to chat. You don't have to. I know some people are kind of anxious about, having the one-on-one chat with the streamer during these slow nights. But even if it's not to chat and you just want to like come in and talk about what you're liking and what you don't like, what you want to see on the stream, yeah, chat. We've got the chat box up. It's always open and available, right? So, at this point, I might just be happy just to get back to the sewer. So we might end the stream right where we started. It wasn't how I wanted things to go, but man, I really thought we'd do better than this. But I made the mistake of trying to go for that crow. That's on me. I have no excuse. The crow had a shiny thing. I wanted to see if I could get the shiny thing, and I genuinely had no idea where else to go at that section. So that's on me, guys. I am I'm a very poor jump king. Okay. Let's just see if we can get back to the sewer area. And then yeah, I think we're gonna have to call it a night after that. I got a couple other things I want to do tonight before I have to go to bed. Like I said, thankfully it's one of those nice 4-hour afternoon shifts. So it shouldn't be too bad. It's a closing shift, which is going to be interesting trying to do it. I hope I'm not alone doing doing this. They've had me with buddies all week, so it hasn't been too bad. But the thing with, employees training other employees, one, I don't like that as a concept, because obviously if I'm being paid $12 an hour, I don't want to be training another employee. You're not paying me to train those people. You want me to train people, pay me. It's really what it comes down to. I'm not taking on that extra responsibility without getting paid more. But it also sucks for the person being trained, i.e. me, because those people are not, my coworkers are not being paid to train people because again, they're not professional trainers, which means my training is kind of iffy to begin with. So like I'm getting a lot of instructions that like I'm not super sure about a lot of it. I'm not entirely certain I got all of it or understood it all. I'll pick it up. I mean, I always do. But yeah, yeah, it kind of sucks being trained by coworkers who are just hourly employees. Sucks for them and it sucks for me. So yeah, especially when you got a lot of like it's not necessarily paperwork, it's like the retail equivalent of paperwork that you have to do. Like that's what merchandising and inventory is to a point. So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll just have to see how it goes. I think that's a large part of why I haven't really gelled with the job yet is just like I don't know what I'm doing, man. And like all the merchandise and inventory stuff, like it's kind of important compared to everything else. It's like it feels like I've got more responsibility, even though it's like the work itself really isn't that difficult, I guess. All right, so I think we're gonna call it here and do it. Thanks for listening to me rant. I hope I wasn't too mean about it or anything on stream, but I hate doing that. Again, I hate being that angry opinion guy. I try not to be, but it's been such a discussion that I've talked about it so many times on stream that I feel like it's really easy for me to go on a big rant without exactly meaning to. So, it is what it is. But I've said my piece. Now it's in the past. Now we've got more sewers to look forward to. We're starting right. We're ending up right where we started again. So next stream it'll be like this one never happened. The rant never existed except for the clips, right? But yeah, thanks a ton for watching, everyone. I hope you have a good night. I hope you have a good middle of your week. If it's cold where you are, please stay warm. Again, please, please, please check your carbon monoxide detectors if you're using anything that is not HVAC. Please, for the love of God, check those. And yeah, we'll be back probably Thursday and do a little bit more FF6. So take care and have a good night. Bye bye.